Welcome to Elevate English. Elevate your English. Elevate your life. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to the Elevate English channel. Let's start our story. The Second Chance. Alison Hayes was no stranger to heartache. She'd loved and lost, walked through the fire of grief, and emerged with scars that had faded but never completely disappeared. At 34, she had long since given up on the idea of finding love again. Her career as a graphic designer consumed most of her time, and her social life was limited to occasional dinners with friends. After her last relationship ended in a quiet, painful divorce 5 years ago, she had built walls around her heart that was sturdy, unyielding. But then, life had a way of surprising her. It was a Saturday morning, a day that started like any other. Alison was enjoying her coffee on the balcony of her small apartment, watching the sun rise over the city skyline, when her phone buzzed. It was a message from her childhood friend, Emma. "Hey, I know this is sudden, but I'm in town for the weekend. Would love to catch up if you're free." Alison smiled. Emma had been one of her closest friends growing up. They had lost touch over the years as life pulled them in different directions, but the bond between them had always remained. Without hesitation, Alison responded, "Of course, let's meet. It's been too long." They agreed to meet at a local coffee shop that afternoon. When Alison arrived, she found Emma sitting by the window, a warm smile on her face as she spotted Alison. There was a sense of comfort in seeing her old friend again, a reminder of a simpler time. "Alison, you look amazing," Emma exclaimed, standing to hug her. Alison laughed softly, feeling the warmth of her embrace. "You too. I can't believe we're finally doing this." They sat down, and the conversation flowed easily. They reminisced about their childhood, their teenage years, the silly things they used to do together. But as the conversation turned more serious, Emma's tone shifted slightly. "So how have you been?" "Really?" Alison hesitated. She'd grown accustomed to keeping her emotions to herself, to keeping the walls high. But Emma's question lingered, and she found herself opening up. "Honestly, I've been okay. Work keeps me busy. I've been spending a lot of time focusing on myself, you know? After everything, I don't know if I can go through that kind of heartache again." Emma nodded, understanding in her eyes. "You've been through a lot. You deserve happiness, Alison. But don't close yourself off completely." Alison sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I don't know, Emma. I'm just, scared. What if it doesn't work out again? What if I get hurt?" Emma leaned forward, her gaze serious. "You can't let fear control your life. You deserve to feel loved again. It might take time, but don't shut yourself off from the possibility of something beautiful." Alison didn't know why, but Emma's words seemed to sink into her heart in a way that hadn't happened before. She had spent so many years protecting herself from pain that she had forgotten what it was like to truly be open to love. As they finished their coffee and parted ways, Alison couldn't shake the thought that had been growing in her mind. Maybe it was time to let go of the past. The next few weeks passed in a blur of work and reflection. Alison couldn't stop thinking about Emma's words. She realized that she had been holding onto the past, unable to move forward because of the fear that had settled deep in her heart. She wanted to be happy again. She wanted to feel love, to be loved, without the weight of her past mistakes hanging over her. But there was someone from her past who seemed to stand at the crossroads of her heart. His name was Ben Carter, and he was the last person she ever thought she would see again. Ben had been her high school sweetheart. They had shared everything: dreams, secrets, promises of forever. But life, as it often did, had other plans. After graduation, Ben had left for college in another city, and they had drifted apart. The love they had once shared had faded, and their breakup was inevitable, painful, but ultimately necessary. Alison had often wondered what might have been. She'd heard bits and pieces about Ben over the years. He'd moved to another state, started a successful business, and even got married. The news of his divorce a year ago had surprised her, though she had never truly followed up on it. She had no reason to. But then, one evening, she saw him. It was at a mutual friend's art gallery opening, an event she'd almost skipped. As soon as she walked in, her heart stopped. There he was, standing by a large painting, his back to her. The familiar broad shoulders, the dark hair she remembered from their youth, the same confident stance. For a moment, it felt like time had reversed, like the years between them had never happened. Ben must have felt her presence because he turned around, and their eyes met. It was as if the world paused for a brief second, the noise of the gallery fading into the background. "Alison," he said, his voice warm, a little surprised, but unmistakably familiar. She swallowed, suddenly feeling both nervous and nostalgic. "Ben! It's been a long time." He stepped closer, his expression softening. "It really has. I didn't expect to see you here." Alison smiled awkwardly. "Yeah, same. I almost didn't come." "Glad you did," he said, his eyes meeting hers in a way that made her heart skip a beat. "How have you been?" She hesitated. "I've been good." "You?" "I've been working through some things," he replied. "You know how it is." Alison nodded, unsure of where to go from there. The conversation had a strange weight to it, as though all the years between them hadn't been erased by a simple hello. There was something about Ben, something familiar that both comforted and unsettled her. As the evening continued, they talked, slowly at first, but then more naturally. They shared memories of their high school days, laughed about silly inside jokes, and even talked about their lives since they'd parted ways. Ben had been through a lot: his divorce, his new ventures, and the struggles he faced after everything fell apart. "I didn't expect to run into you tonight, but I'm glad we did," Ben said quietly as the evening wore on. He looked at her with an intensity she remembered, one that made her pulse race. Alison met his gaze, her heart pounding in her chest. "Me too. I didn't think I'd ever see you again." "Well, life has a funny way of bringing people back together," Ben said softly. "I thought about you, Alison. A lot." Her breath caught in her throat. "You have?" Ben nodded, a slight smile on his lips. "I never really stopped. I guess that's the thing about real love. It doesn't just go away." Alison's heart skipped a beat. It had been years, yet here they were, standing in front of each other as if the years had never passed. The fear that had once ruled her heart now felt distant, replaced by the quiet certainty that maybe, just maybe, this was a second chance. Not just for love, but for healing. For starting over. As the night drew to a close, Ben asked, "Would you like to get coffee sometime? Just the two of us?" Alison smiled, her heart lighter than it had been in years. "I'd like that." And so, their story began again. Not the same as it once was, but something new, something built on understanding, on the wisdom that only time could provide. They knew there was work to do, but for the first time in years, Alison didn't feel afraid of what the future might bring. Let me know if you'd like more stories or adjustments.